So we are at the animal associations on that. So yesterday we completed mutualism, commensalism, parasitism. So so mutualism, commensalism are totally over in yesterday previous class. So we are not completed the parasitism. The parasitism and predation are there. Two topics are left. So in animal associations on that today we are going to discuss about those parasitism and predation now. So these animal associations are mainly so these are one organism was interacted with the another organism that was mainly helpful for so one was going to be interacted with the another organism. So these type of interaction was comes under and called as some relationship was maintained in the middle of the two different and new and the so various organisms, and those organisms are belongs to different phylums and plants and animals are also make the interaction. Such type of different relationships are there. So on those mutualism and commensalism are the two different relationships, and parasitism. Parasitism was completely vary from the mutualism and commensalism. Why? Because so in mutualism and commensalism what happens is so any harmful was not takes place by any of the organism, but in parasitism those organism, which organism was going to depends upon the another organism for food, shelter and reproduction, for completion of their lifespan and also the completion of their life cycle and remaining for surviving. So those are reasons so that can make the great harm to the another organism. So that organism was considered as a host. The host was greatly harmed, greatly affected by the help of a parasite. So the parasites are two different types. We are already discussed in our previous class. That is mainly permanent parasites and temporary parasites. So those temporary parasite means some of the organisms make the interaction with the another organism, means some of the organisms depends upon the another organism for their food, shelter and reproduction purposes. So for temporarily only that should be happen for temporarily. Such type of relationship was mainly called and caused as that was permanent temporary parasitism, and those temporary parasitism was mainly the main example glucidium larva. The glucidium larva is one of the larva that was going to complete their life. That means for the conversion of their larval stage, the adult stage, that was going to be depends upon the another organism, that is fishes on the surface of so fishes for the completion of their life cycle. After conversion of their life cycle, completion of for the conversion of adult form, the glucidium larva was completely deviated from the host. So such type of relationship, such type of parasites are considered as a temporary parasite, and the permanent parasites means some of the parasites can lead so parasitic life so throughout their lifespan. So that was entamoeba histolytica is there, and entamoebiasis, and different type of parasites are there, Taenia solium, Schistosoma hematobium. So different parasites are there, helminth parasites, most of the helminth parasites, and protozoan parasites, that is a Plasmodium vivax, that should be cause the malaria, and the Taenia solium helminth parasites, Schistosoma hematobium. So such type of parasites can lead so their for the completion of their life cycle. So they are used to complete their life cycle, means for the surviving nature, for the so they continue their life cycle. What happens is so those organisms make the relationship to the another organism for the completion of their life cycle. So these main parasites for their life cycle. So actually so egg stage and larval stage and to the adult stage, and after completion of adult stage, those organism was going to participate inside the fertilization, and again the zygote is formed, and the zygote undergoes number of division to conversion of embryo, and again form the larval stage. Such type of cycles are rotated inside these parasites, and for completion of their life cycle, what happens is so those parasites may not be collect their so they may not be collect their own food material, they may not be prepare their own food material, but by that reason, so for the completion of their life cycle, and for the food material, and for the shelter, why? Because these parasites are going to survive for a long time. Then what happens is so they collect one host. First they identify their host, so they recognize their host, and then only they attack with their host. So then only they complete their life cycle on the inner region of their host. So then what happens is when they are entered into the host organism, the host body, then what happens is their life cycle begins inside the host body. So by that reason, so that was helpful mainly for what happens is if they are once they are entered into the host body, then so that was the host body was make protection to the parasites, that is a protection, and so they already received already digested food from the host. The host body mainly the food materials are going to be digested. Those digested food was that was a simple form of food material like the glucose, amino acids, and the fatty acids, all are entered into the blood circulation. So through the parasite already collect the blood blood from the host. So from the blood, what happens is the food materials are directly entered into the parasite's body. So they can arrange their shelter and protection and food material from the host, and not only that, they are also going to surviving. What happens is they are also going to participate inside the fertilization inside the host body. Then their number was also increased inside the host body. So this is the mechanism when the parasites were entered into the any host body. So these are the changes which are mainly takes place inside the host body, mainly the effect of when the parasites are entered into the body. So most of the parasites are entered into the body of the human beings, are not only the any of the human being, through the contamination only, through the contamination, that is that was polluted contaminated water or contaminated food was taken by the consumed by the human beings, then only the parasites are entered into their host body. If any interruption was occurred, that is egg stage to their adult form, so in meanwhile any disturbances are occurred in their life cycle, then so they may not be going to be survived. So any interruptions are occurred on their lifespan, then the life cycle was disturbed once, then the population of parasites was greatly reduced, but most of the parasites become survived. So inside the host body, mainly the human beings and the remaining other organism. So these ectoparasites and endoparasites were already completed in our previous class. That is ectoparasites are on the surface of the host body, endoparasites are inner region of the host body. So in this way the parasites, endoparasites are remaining these Cystosoma, Plasmodium, Taenia solium, Vasciola hepatica, Entamoebiasis, Entamoeba histolytica, Elephantiasis, Wuchereria, Bancrofti. So these all are considered as internal, that is endoparasites of the human beings. Endoparasites, not only the human beings, are remaining the cattle, snail, some other organisms, some other animals are also comes under to complete their life cycle, and some of the parasites are complete their life cycle in the single host, but some of the parasites are going to complete their life cycle in the two different hosts. So half of the life cycle was completed inside the one host and remaining half was completed inside the one host. So one above one host were also selected by the some of the parasites like the Taenia solium, that is the human beings, and the pig, and the Fasciola hepatica, freshwater snail, and inside the sheep or the goat. So in this way their life cycle was going to be completed inside the two different hosts also. So in this way any interruption was occurred, the first host after completion of their half life cycle, then their one stage of parasitic life, that larval stage was going to reach, that should be reached to the another host, then only the life cycle begins. Otherwise what happens is the life cycle was stopped there. So these are the some of the problematics are also occurred inside the for the continuation of the parasitic life, but the parasites can make the great harm to the great injury to the host body. So that is the so Eukarya bankrafti is one of the parasite. Eukarya bankrafti. So it was inside the mosquito. So completed inside the life cycle of mosquito and man. So in this way what happens is first these larval stages, so it was entered into these mosquito, and the mosquito bite to the human beings, then only the life cycle begins inside the human beings. These Eukarya bankrafti was internal parasite of the human being. It was going to survive till to end of permanent parasite. It is one of the permanent parasite. It was going to continue their parasitic life throughout the end of the particular host body. The host, up to end of the host, these parasite was going to be survived. There is no medication so was available for the complete curing of these parasites, because it may cause one of the disease, that is elephantiasis. This was here considered as elephantiasis. So these elephantiasis was nothing but, see here, so it is the normal leg of the human being. So but in these elephantiasis, the leg so become like this. The leg become like this. So it was this disease was considered and called here as elephantiasis, elephant leg. The means mainly what happens is so these organism was going to be survived mainly at the head region, and so mainly at the hands and the legs of the body of the human being permanently. By that reason, so what happens is it was going to be completely permanently lived at there, and so these parasite once enter into the human's body, then may not be comes out throughout the end of the lifespan of the host body. It may make a great interruption for the blood circulation to the host body. So the leg should be like this. So these was mainly occurred by the Eukarya bankrafti. Next, and next host specificity means some of the adaptations are made by the parasites for the they can able to survive so throughout their lifespan to end of the host body. So without any interruption, they can make some of the so changes, some of the adaptations inside the host body. Those changes are nothing but those are considered as a host specificity, that is a number of the parasites. Means what happens is so they can maintain some some common number, minimum number inside the host body. Why? Because if the number of the parasites are increased than the more number, then what happens is that also leads to cause the death of that particular host. To survive, to overcome that problem, the parasites can made one of the adaptation, that is they can made so their number equally and constantly inside the host body. That is one of the specificity, host specificity that was made by the parasites for a continuation of their lifespan, their life cycle throughout the host body lifespan. So that was mainly occurred inside the human, that is the host body. So that is first they maintained their number. So the minimum number they maintained. So if their number was increased, then what happens is that leads to cause the host death. So if the host was going to die, then the parasite was also going to die. So to overcome the problem, they already maintained their number, constant number. And they can make a harm, that was mainly those are circulate inside the host body mainly. So from that to the blood circulation, they got so reach to the different organs. So but they can't make any some more damage to the host. So for that damage was mainly helpful for surviving of the host, but not directly leads to cause the death of that particular host. That is also one of the so specificity, that is also one of the adaptation which was made by the parasite inside the host body. So these are comes under the host, it is also comes under one of the host specificity. It is also one of the adaptation, and the most of the parasites may contain the hooks and the sucker like structure. With the help of that, those are mainly attached with the host body easily. So with the help of those they can easily so attached with the host body. So and these are the adaptations are made by the parasites, and it is comes under the host specificity. Mainly the Taenia solium maintained 20 to 30 parasites inside the host body. So for the increase of these number, that was leads to cause the death of the host body. So these are the specificity which was made by the parasites. And now the last one, that is the predation. Predation is also one of the so antibiotic life, means antibiosis, that is a antagonistic life. Why? Because so it is also the parasites are going to attack to the host body, and they can able to survive inside the host body and also survive on the surface of the host body. That should be commonly occurred in so mainly inside the parasitic life, but that was completely vary inside the predation. Why? Because the predation life is nothing but that was so predator is one of the organism that was used to kill the another organism, and those organism was eaten by the predator. So the first one of the organisms are going to eaten by the complete part of the organs of the body. So total body was going to be killed, and total body was eaten by the some other organisms. Those organisms which was going to eat which was going to kill the another organism, such organism was considered as a predator, and those organism which was become the food material to the predator, such organism was considered as a prey. Prey is the food material for the predator. Predator is the organism which was going to kill the another organism and consume that particular organism, and that was going to kill the another organism. Sometimes the predator was going to consume the already killed organism. So these are mainly occurred inside the predation and the predatory life. So the predators can so they can feed on the prey. Such type of mechanism was considered as so the mechanism, the type of life was considered as a predation. So in the middle of prey and predator, so the lion and the fox, tiger, so any other cow, human being, that is a man, and not only these so some other organisms, other smaller organisms, all are going to be killed by the tiger and the fox and the zebra. Zebras are also eaten by the lion. So such type of organisms are going to killed. So wild, actually most of the wild animals are going to to become predators. Not only these higher organisms, some of the smaller organisms, that is the beetles, and are also those organisms are also eaten by some of the higher organisms. Such type of predators are also there. Some arthropod organisms, and are also going to eaten by some other organism, and the predators are there. So mainly the butterflies are also eaten by some other organism, and the caterpillar stages, that is the larval stages of a butterfly, and so larval stages of some other insects are also eaten by the some of the higher organisms. So those all the organisms are comes under the predators here. Now the lion is one of the predator, tiger is one of the predator, and the eagle is also there. Eagle and a snake. So here eagle is one of the predator, tiger is one of the predator, and the lion is also one of the predator, and the fox is the prey to the lion, and the cow the human beings. So these are the prey to the tiger, and the snake was a prey to the eagle. So in this manner, in the middle of a prey and predator, predator is an organism that was going to be killed, that was completely attack their prey. Actually, so for the collection of food material, predator is one of the wild organism that was very cruel, that was going to be attack their prey, and that was going to kill their prey, and then only they consume their prey. So it was considered as a predator, and such type of a life cycle, the leading of such type of predatory life, such organisms, that mechanism was considered as a predation here. So in the middle of a prey and predator, what happens is some other so in the middle of two different organisms, the predator are going to eat, are going to consume the more number of their prey. Then what happens is so the prey organisms are going to be so removed from that particular environment. So but to overcome that problem, predation was also be helpful for keep balancing of an environment inside the so total ecosystem. So the environment inside the ecosystem, all the organisms are keep balancing, all the organisms are equally maintained. So then only that was helpful for an ecosystem was survived, and the organisms are survived so without any interruption throughout their lifespan. So if those balancing was may not be occurred inside the organisms, then what happens is such mechanism was may cause different types of the problems to the another organism. If the population, that is organisms was greatly increased than their normal state, then scarcity of food material and the remaining, so the some other problems are occurred inside the organism for their surviving reason. To overcome that problem, what happens is so the older ones are removed out from an ecosystem, then the new ones are replaced in the older organisms. So in this manner, so in this way an ecosystem was equally maintained. So from that to in our first unit, that was an ecosystem, the structure and functions of ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, and after that nutrient biogeochemical cycle, carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle, water cycle, and carbon cycle, nitrogen cycles are there, and food chain, food web, energy flow, ecological pyramids, and number pyramids. So these are mainly helpful, these are tells us to the mainly helpful for the keep balancing of an environment, for the surviving of each and every organism in an ecosystem, so equally maintained. So this type of so mainly these predation is one of the cruelty. So predation is also helpful for keep balancing of the environment. So total these topics on in our ecosystem, so these are mainly helpful for so these are complained, the main aim was a keep balancing of the organisms in an ecosystem. So if their number was increased, then the remaining organisms may not be survived there. To overcome that problem, the remaining organisms are going to be killed, then only they are removed from an ecosystem. So mainly the predators or the wild organisms, higher organisms, so those are eat and going to consume the other organisms. Then what happens is their number was equally maintained in an ecosystem. So that's why the predators are also important in an ecosystem. So in a food chain, what happens is one of the higher organism was depends upon the another organism. One of the higher organism was going to eat the another. smaller organism, and that such organism was going to eaten by the another higher organism. So in this way the aquatic media, terrestrial media, that is aquatic ecosystem, the food chain is different, and the terrestrial media, the food chain is different, and so the grassland ecosystem and the forest ecosystem, the food chain was completely vary. So in this manner some smaller organism was eaten by the another higher organism, and such organism was going to eat those another organism. So in this manner an ecosystem was equally maintained, balancing the balancing of ecosystem was always so that was mainly occurred in an ecosystem. So it is a main aim of all the food chain and a food web. So these mechanism, those last and final predation is also. So when we compare it with the mutualism and the commensalism, the parasitism was some less so harmful, that is that can make harm to the host but not kill the host. But in predation, predator is the organism that was going to directly kill the, and there is an organism that was going to attack the organism and going to kill that particular organism and then consume that particular organism. So it was mainly occurred. So when we compared it with the mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, the predation is a very complicated and so very cruel mechanism. So that was compared with the mutualism, commensalism, parasitism and predation. So these are the different animal associations which are takes place inside the in an ecosystem. So in an ecosystem, so these are mainly helpful. So for the key balancing of all the organisms in an ecosystem. So this is your first unit is totally completed. So today is first unit is over. So with this predation topic, and so we will meet another new topic tomorrow, that is population species concept and population dynamics and population growth curves is first topic in your second unit is there. So tomorrow class we are going to start our new unit and a new topic, that is a concept of a species, population dynamics, and so total study about the population growth curves. So growth curves, the population was how the population was distributed in an ecosystem. So that was older age people is there, younger age people is there, and middle age people are there. So how their number and which type of people and which age of people are higher in number and which age of people are in lower in number. So that was mainly comes under so the population ecology. So in these population ecology and so population dynamics is there, population economy, that was so mainly so we are going to study about the population studies. So that was mainly always in an ecosystem. So that was the older age was mainly less in number, and middle age or lower in number, and always the middle age, that was younger age people are higher always in number, and remaining so the small children, that was also lower in number. Why? Because the older age people are greatly reduced. So those are a number of the old age are going to be die with the help of some other health problems, and younger age are many. So in an ecosystem the younger age people are always higher in number when we compared with the that was the children, and also with the old age people. The children are also going to suffer with different types of the diseases. So along with the older age people. So in this manner the population dynamics, how those the population was distributed, and the graphical representation of population in an ecosystem, that was mainly called and comes under the population, that was a representation. The graphical representation is considered as a population growth curves. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about the population growth curves, and so the dynamics of population, and complete population ecology, and a species concept. Species are so those are lived in an ecosystem at particular area. So those area so was different types of the species organisms are there. So how the organisms are distributed in an ecosystem, and what is their number and their graphical representation. So that was going to be discussed. We are going to discuss in tomorrow class. Today's topic is over. That was mainly the animal associations, that is a mutualism, commensalism, parasitism and predation. The mutualism was mainly, so that was a mutual understanding in the middle of two different organisms, and so those organisms are in helpful nature. And commensalism, the commensalism is there, so it is also only one of the organism got benefited. And the parasitism, so one organism was benefited, the remaining organism was greatly harmed. Compared with the predation in these organisms, one of the organism was going to kill the another organism, that is a higher and the strongest organism was going to kill the another organism. So today's topic is over. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.